Trevor had always struggled with relationships. He was never quite sure how to act, how to read people, or how to make a connection. But when he matched with Rachel on a dating app, he felt like he finally found someone who understood him. Their first date was perfect. They went out to dinner, talked for hours, and even shared a kiss before parting ways. Trevor felt like he was walking on air. But then, the next day, Rachel stopped responding to his messages. Trevor tried not to panic, thinking maybe she was just busy. But days turned into weeks, and Trevor couldn't get a single response from her. He started to feel like he was going crazy. Finally, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He went to her apartment, hoping to get some answers. But when he knocked on the door, he heard nothing. He tried the handle, and it was unlocked. Trevor pushed the door open and stepped inside, calling out Rachel's name. The apartment was empty, but he could hear the sound of water running in the bathroom. He walked towards the noise and pushed the bathroom door open. Rachel was sitting in the bathtub, fully clothed and with her eyes closed. He gets closer and realizes that the bathtub was full of blood. Trevor rushed over to her, trying to revive her, but it was too late. Rachel was already dead. The police were called, and Trevor was immediately a suspect in her murder. They asked him all sorts of questions, but Trevor couldn't give them any answers. He didn't know what had happened to Rachel, or who could have killed her. Trevor became obsessed with solving the case. He spent every waking moment scouring the internet, looking for clues or evidence. But the more he searched, the more confused he became. Finally, the truth was revealed. Rachel's ex-boyfriend had killed her in a fit of rage, because he found out that Rachel has been talking to someone else, but the police had no leads until they stumbled upon a piece of evidence that linked him to the crime. Trevor was cleared of all charges, but he was never the same. The experience had taken its toll on him, and he was haunted by the memory of Rachel every day. He had always struggled with relationships, but now he's scared to be in one after this incident occurred. He doesn't think he will ever find another girl that will appreciate him as much as Rachel did. A girl named Vanessa was swiping through profiles on a dating app, looking for someone interesting to spend the weekend with. That's when she came across his profile. He was handsome, with dark hair and piercing blue eyes. His profile said he loved hiking and trying new foods, just like her. They matched, and they messaged each other. They quickly hit it off and exchanged phone numbers. They talked on the phone for hours that night, and before she knew it, they had arranged to meet up for dinner the next day. She arrived at the restaurant early and waited nervously for him to arrive. When he walked in, she felt a wave of relief wash over her. He looked just like his pictures, and his smile made her heart race. They ordered drinks and appetizers, and soon they were chatting like old friends. As they ate, she noticed something odd about him. He kept glancing over his shoulder, as if he was checking to see if anyone was watching them. She asked him if everything was okay, and he just smiled and said he was enjoying himself. She shrugged it off, thinking maybe he was just nervous. After dinner, he suggested they go for a walk in the nearby park. She agreed, thinking it would be a nice way to end the evening. As they walked, he told her about his life, his hopes and dreams. But the more he talked, the more she felt uneasy. There was something about him that she couldn't quite put her finger on. They came to a secluded area of the park, and he suddenly stopped walking. He turned to her, his blue eyes shining in the moonlight. "I have something to show you," he said. She hesitated, but he took her hand and led her off the path, deeper into the woods. They came to a clearing, and he pulled out a small bottle of wine and some glasses. He poured them each a glass and they sat down on a blanket he had brought. As they drank, she felt herself relaxing. Maybe she was being too paranoid, she thought. He was just a guy who wanted to have a nice time with her. But then, he leaned in close and whispered in her ear, "I have a confession to make. I'm not who I say I am." Her heart raced. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm not the person in those pictures on my profile. I'm someone else." She tried to stand up, but he grabbed her arm, pulling her back down. "Don't go," he said. "Please, just hear me out." He proceeded to tell her a long and convoluted story about how he had stolen someone else's pictures because he was ashamed of his own appearance. He said he had fallen in love with her and couldn't bear to lose her. She tried to pull away, but he held her tight. "Please, just give me a chance," he pleaded. "I'll do anything to make it up to you." She was terrified. This was not the man she had thought she was meeting. She tried to calm him down, telling him they could talk about it in the morning, but he wouldn't let her leave. He kept talking, his voice growing more and more desperate. And then, out of nowhere, he lunged at her, his hands around her neck. She struggled to breathe, her vision growing dark. She fought back as best she could, hitting and scratching him, but he was too strong. As she gasped for air, she thought this was it. She was going to die at the hands of a stranger she met on a dating app. But then, something strange happened. His grip loosened, and he stumbled backwards. She looked up to see a figure in the darkness, a shadowy figure wielding a baseball bat. The stranger ran off, disappearing into the woods. The figure stepped forward, and she saw it was a woman. The woman helped her to her feet and led her out of the woods, back to the main path. The woman called the police, and they arrived soon after. They took her statement, and she told them everything that had happened. They searched the woods but found no sign of the man. She went home that night, shaken and terrified. She couldn't believe what had happened. She had thought she was being careful, but she had let her guard down, and it almost cost her her life. The next day, she got a call from the police. They had identified the man, and it turned out he had a history of violence against women. She shuddered to think what might have happened if that woman with the baseball bat hadn't been there to save her. She deleted the dating app, vowing never to use it again. From now on, she would be more careful, more cautious. She had learned the hard way that not everyone is who they seem, and that sometimes, the stranger you meet can be the most dangerous of all. Emma had been single for a while and was tired of being alone. She decided to try online dating to see if she could meet someone new. She swiped through various profiles on the app until she matched with a man named Jack. Jack seemed too good to be true. He was tall, handsome, and charming, with a job in finance and a passion for hiking. Emma was smitten and eagerly agreed to meet him in person. On the day of their date, Emma spent hours getting ready. She put on her best dress, styled her hair, and even bought a new pair of heels. When she arrived at the designated location, Jack was waiting for her with a bouquet of flowers. They hit it off right away, and before Emma knew it, they had spent the entire day together. They talked about everything, from their favorite foods to their dreams for the future. Emma thought she had finally found the perfect guy, but as the weeks went on, she started to notice some strange things. Jack would always cancel plans at the last minute, claiming that he had an emergency at work. He would rarely answer her calls or texts, and when he did, he seemed distant and distracted. One day, Emma decided to do some digging. She searched for Jack online and couldn't find any trace of him. She couldn't find him on social media, and his job in finance didn't seem to exist. Emma started to realize that Jack might not be who he said he was. She confronted him about it, but he denied everything. Emma didn't know what to believe, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. One night, Emma was scrolling through the news when she came across a story that made her blood run cold. The police had arrested a man who had been using dating apps to lure women into his trap. He had posed as a successful businessman and would charm his victims before luring them to a secluded location, where he would kill them. Emma couldn't believe what she was reading. She clicked on the article and saw a photo of the man. It was Jack. Emma felt sick to her stomach. She had come so close to being the next victim of the catfish killer. She reported Jack to the police and tried to move on from the traumatic experience. But the memory of Jack's deception lingered with her, and she realized that she could never be too careful when it came to online dating. She had learned the hard way that not everyone is who they say they are, and that sometimes, the people you meet online can be the most dangerous of all. Olivia had always been skeptical of online dating, but after her friend persuaded her to try it out, she decided to give it a shot. She created a profile on a popular dating app and quickly found a match with a man named Daniel. At first, Daniel seemed like the perfect match. He was charming, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in getting to know Olivia. They chatted online for a few days before Daniel suggested they meet in person. Olivia was excited but nervous. She arranged to meet Daniel at a local cafe, but when she arrived, she realized that he looked nothing like his profile picture. He was much older and heavier than he had claimed to be. Despite feeling disappointed and uncomfortable, Olivia decided to give him a chance. They chatted for a while over coffee, but Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that something was off about Daniel. He seemed overly interested in her personal life and kept asking her personal questions that she wasn't comfortable answering. After the date, Daniel continued to text Olivia constantly, bombarding her with messages throughout the day and night. At first, Olivia was flattered by the attention, but soon it became overwhelming. Then, things took a turn for the worse. Daniel started showing up at Olivia's workplace unannounced, bringing her gifts and insisting that they spend more time together. Olivia tried to let him down gently, but he didn't seem to take the hint. One day, Olivia came home from work to find Daniel waiting for her outside her apartment building. He had bought her flowers and was insistent that they go out on another date. Olivia tried to tell him that she wasn't interested, but he refused to listen. Over the next few weeks, Daniel's behavior became increasingly erratic. He would show up at Olivia's apartment unannounced, sometimes in the middle of the night, and would follow her around town. Olivia was terrified and didn't know what to do. She confided in a friend, who suggested that she go to the police. But Olivia was hesitant, fearing that Daniel would become even more violent if she involved the authorities. One night, Olivia was leaving her workplace when she saw Daniel waiting for her outside. She knew she had to act fast. She ran to her car and locked the doors, but Daniel managed to catch up with her and started banging on the window, screaming for her to let him in. In a panic, Olivia hit the gas and drove off, but Daniel managed to grab onto the car door and held on for dear life as she sped down the street. Olivia swerved, trying to shake him off, but he wouldn't let go. Finally, with a sickening thud, Daniel let go and tumbled onto the pavement. Olivia didn't stop to check if he was okay. She kept driving until she reached a police station and reported what had happened. The police arrested Daniel and charged him with stalking and harassment. Olivia was shaken but relieved that she had finally put an end to the nightmare. However, the aftermath of the experience left its mark on her. She became paranoid and anxious, always looking over her shoulder and second-guessing her decisions. She never went on another date through the dating app again and sought therapy to cope with the trauma. Despite the positive outcome, Olivia's experience with Daniel was a chilling reminder of the dangers of online dating and the importance of trusting your instincts. That was it for this video. See you next time.